Every world hides its secrets, and some beings belong to more than one. I am born of two worlds where science meets spirituality and reality collides with imagination. Welcome to the space between worlds. The storm raged across the black sky like angry fire. Wind screamed between the broken towers of the old mining colony. Rusted metal sang with each gust. Beneath that chaos, a tall man ran through the rain. His name was Kale, and in his arms lay a creature most humans had never seen alive. A dragon, weak and trembling, her scales dull like dying embers. Kale's boots splashed through muddy puddles as he moved fast toward the main human outpost. The lights of the foreman's station blinked far away like small stars. He looked down at the creature in his arms. Her breath was slow. She tried to open her eyes but failed. "Hold on," he whispered, his voice shaking. "Just a little more, Luria, please." Luria, the last of her kind, the dragon he had saved months ago from the burning plains. But she wasn't just a dragon. She was his mate in ways neither man nor beast had ever understood before. And now, she carried something inside her, their unborn hatchling, and she was starving. Kale's heart pounded harder than the thunder. He had only one hope left, the human foreman, the man who controlled food and medicine in the colony. But humans hated dragons. They called them monsters, world eaters, liars. Bringing one here was madness, yet Kale had no choice. Inside the station, Foreman Reddick sat behind a desk full of glowing screens. He was a wide, red-faced man with cold eyes. When the door burst open, he jumped up, spilling his coffee. "Who the hell, Kale?" he shouted. "You've got 5 seconds to explain why you broke the security gates." Kale's breath came heavy. Water dripped from his jacket to the metal floor. Behind him, the dragon lay wrapped in a torn blanket, her body shaking. "She needs help," Kale said, voice rough. "She's dying." Reddick's eyes went wide. "What is that thing?" Kale didn't answer right away. He knelt beside Luria and pulled the blanket away. Her scaled chest rose weakly, her claws twitching. The room filled with a soft hum, her heartbeat faint but steady. "It's a dragon," Reddick whispered, stepping back in fear. "You brought a damn dragon into my base." "She's not a threat," Kale said quickly. "She's pregnant and starving. If she dies, her child dies too." Reddick stared at him like he had lost his mind. "You expect me to feed that? To waste rations on a beast?" Kale's jaw tightened. He stood tall, meeting Reddick's glare. "She saved my life out there more than once. I owe her everything." Outside, thunder cracked again, a deep growl that shook the walls. The station's lights flickered. Reddick crossed his arms. "You know the rules. No outsiders, no aliens, no dragons. If command hears about this, they'll send soldiers to burn you both." Kale took a step closer. His eyes, cold and desperate, caught the light. "Then let them come, but first help her." The foreman's mouth opened, then closed. He could see the madness or the courage in Kale's eyes. He sighed, rubbing his temples. "You've lost your mind," he said quietly. "But fine, I'll give her something, one meal. After that, you both leave." Kale nodded quickly. "Thank you." He didn't notice the small security drone floating above the door, its red lens blinking, recording everything. Minutes later, Kale sat beside Luria in the old cargo room. She rested on a pile of thermal blankets. Steam rose from a bowl of protein broth beside her, untouched. Her eyes slowly opened, gold and soft. "Kale," she whispered, her voice weak but melodic. He smiled faintly. "You're safe now, they'll help you." She blinked slowly, her tail twitching. "Humans will not help me, they fear what they do not know." Kale reached for her claw, holding it gently. "Then they'll learn." Outside, footsteps echoed in the hall. Reddick's voice murmured to someone, another man, lower and colder. Kale couldn't hear much, but one phrase made his heart freeze. "Send a message to command. Tell them the dragon is here." The night grew quieter. Rain softened against the roof. Kale finally allowed himself to rest beside Luria. For a short moment, everything was still. But miles above the colony, something dark moved in orbit, a ship marked with the Human Alliance symbol. Inside, a transmission light blinked. Subject found, the message read. Dragon confirmed alive, prepare for extraction. And in the shadows of that ship a voice answered, low and sharp, bring them both, the man and the beast. They've broken the law of species. The sound of rain never stopped. It fell in thin silver lines over the metal roofs of the outpost. Inside the cargo room, Kale sat beside the dragon, Luria, watching her breathe slowly. Her scales looked brighter now, glowing faintly under the soft light. The warmth had returned to her skin, but her eyes still carried pain and fear. Kale had barely closed his eyes when the door opened. Foreman Reddick stepped in, holding a data tablet and a strange look on his face. You got what you wanted, Reddick said flatly. She's fed, she's warm. Now you tell me what happens next. Kale stood up tense. I'll take her away as soon as she can move. I just needed time. Reddick frowned. You think it's that easy? You brought a dragon into a human base. If command finds out, they'll erase this whole place. Kale stared at him, silent for a long moment. They already know, he said quietly. You called them, didn't you? Reddick froze, his eyes darted away. I had no choice. Kale's voice grew cold. You always have a choice. The two men stood face to face, the air heavy between them. Behind Kale, Luria shifted weakly, her claws scraping the metal floor. Kale, she murmured, danger comes. Her golden eyes flickered toward the window. Outside, faint lights blinked in the sky, small at first, then brighter. Ships. Reddick cursed under his breath. They are early, he muttered. They must have been nearby already. Kale's hands tightened into fists. Then help us get out. You can open the south gate. Reddick shook his head. That gate is sealed. The patrol will be here in 20 minutes. If they find that thing here, they'll kill her and maybe you too. Kale took a slow breath, his mind racing. There has to be another way. Reddick looked at him for a long time. There is maybe, but it'll cost you. Kale frowned. Cost me what? Reddick tapped the tablet. There's an old transport tunnel under the outpost. It leads into the canyon. You can hide there until morning, but I'll need your plasma rifle and your mining credits. Kale blinked in disbelief. You're bargaining now. She's dying. You're asking for money. Reddick shrugged. I run a station, not a charity. You want my help, you pay. For a moment, Kale wanted to hit him, but he didn't. Instead, he reached behind his back, unhooked his old plasma rifle and dropped it on the table with a dull clang. Then he pulled out a small metal chip, his last credit card, and slid it across. Fine, Kale said. Now show me the way. Reddick smiled slightly, the kind of smile that never reached his eyes. He turned and walked toward the corridor. Follow me. The tunnels below the outpost were dark and narrow, lit only by flickering blue lights. Water dripped from pipes. The air smelled of rust and oil. Reddick walked ahead, his boots echoing softly. This way, he said. It's a maintenance shaft. No one goes down here anymore. Kale carried Luria in his arms, her weight heavy but familiar. She whispered weakly, he lies, I can feel it. Kale looked at her, then at Reddick's back. He couldn't tell if she was right, but his gut twisted with unease. They reached a heavy door covered in warning signs. Reddick stopped and keyed in a code. The door slid open with a hiss, revealing a dim passage stretching into darkness. There, Reddick said, go straight for half a mile. You'll find an exit near the cliffs. Kale stepped inside, then turned back. Why are you helping us? Reddick looked at him just for a moment and said, because sometimes monsters look more human than men. Then he closed the door. Kale began walking through the tunnel. Each step echoed deep into the dark. The hum of machinery faded behind them. Only Luria's soft breathing filled the silence. Kale, she whispered, why do they hate us? He thought for a long time before answering. Because they're afraid of what they can't control. She closed her eyes again, resting her head against his chest. Then they will fear our child even more. Kale's heart ached. We'll keep it safe, he said softly. I promise. But his promise shattered the moment a harsh light flashed ahead. Voices shouted in the distance. Target confirmed, seal the tunnel. Kale turned, the door behind him had locked. Soldiers appeared from the shadows, their armor shining, weapons raised. The insignia of the human alliance glowed blue on their chests. Kale Rin, a voice called out, cold and mechanical. You are under arrest for treason. Step away from the dragon. Kale's mind raced. He glanced around, no cover, no escape. Then he saw something, a broken side tunnel to his left, half buried in rubble. He ran. Laser fire filled the air. Sparks flew as beams hit the walls. Kale dove behind debris, shielding Luria with his body. Pain seared his shoulder, but he kept moving. Kale, she cried, her voice full of fear. Leave me. Never, he shouted back. Hold on. He squeezed through the crack into the side tunnel. The walls glowed faintly with old power lines. The sound of boots echoed closer. He could hear the soldiers shouting orders. Kale pressed a hand to the wall and realized something. The faint hum wasn't power, it was heartbeat. The wall was alive, warm and pulsing. Luria opened her eyes. This place, it remembers dragons. Kale stared, confused. What do you mean? Her golden eyes burned brighter. It is part of the old world, my world. And before Kale could answer, the wall shifted, glowing red, opening like a living gate, and pulled them inside. The soldiers reached the tunnel seconds later, but there was nothing there. Only darkness, only silence. Darkness swallowed them whole. Kale couldn't see where they were, only feel. The walls around him pulsed softly, warm like living skin. A faint red glow shimmered through the tunnel, moving like veins beneath the surface. He could hear the heartbeat, slow, deep, endless. Luria's golden eyes opened. The light from them seemed to wake the tunnel even more. This place remembers, she whispered. My ancestors built it before the wars. Kale stared, stunned. Built it, dragons built this. She nodded slowly. Not only dragons, humans once helped them before fear took over. The walls trembled slightly as if hearing her words. A soft rumble filled the air, not dangerous, almost like a sigh. The tunnel felt alive and aware. Kale didn't know if he should be afraid or comforted. Behind them, faint metallic sounds echoed. The soldiers had found the outer wall again. Kale could hear distant pounding. They were trying to break in. We have to move, he said, lifting Luria gently. If this place is alive, maybe it can hide us. As he spoke, the red glow along the walls brightened as if understanding him. Then, ahead of them, the tunnel slowly opened, forming a narrow path. Kale hesitated, but Luria smiled weakly. It listens to you because you carry my blood mark. What? Her voice was faint but calm. When I saved you, when our bond formed, part of me became part of you. Kale froze. He didn't fully understand, but somewhere deep inside, he could feel the same heartbeat as the tunnel. They walked deeper, following the glowing path. The walls shifted behind them, closing slowly, hiding their tracks. Deeper they went, the more beautiful it became. Glowing vines of crystal grew along the walls, and small floating lights moved around them like fireflies. Kale's fear began to fade, replaced by wonder. It's beautiful, he whispered. Luria smiled softly. You see what humans have forgotten. The old alliance was not built on war, it was built on trust. Her breathing grew heavier. Kale stopped, placing her down gently. You need rest. She shook her head. No time. The child comes soon. We must reach the heart of this place. Only there can it be born safely. Kale felt his chest tighten. Then I'll carry you. She tried to protest, but he lifted her anyway, determination burning in his eyes. We've come too far to stop now. Above ground, chaos ruled. The human alliance ships circled the colony. Foreman Reddick stood outside, staring up at the sky, guilt written on his face. A soldier approached. Sir, we lost them in the tunnels. The scanners can't trace life signs down there. Reddick clenched his jaw. That's impossible. Those tunnels were dead long ago. The soldier shook his head. Not anymore. Something's reactivated. The walls are alive. Reddick turned pale. He looked toward the horizon where lightning danced. Dear gods, he muttered. What have I done? Back below, Kale and Luria finally reached a vast open space. The tunnel widened into a great chamber, its ceiling lost in darkness. In the center stood a huge glowing orb pulsing like a heart. The light was warm and golden, the same color as Luria's eyes. She gasped softly. The heart of the ancients. Kale stepped closer, awestruck. What is it? It is the life source of this world, she said. The dragons protected it. When humans turned on us, we sealed it away. But now it calls again. The orb pulsed faster, almost as if it could hear her. Then, suddenly, voices echoed behind them. Kale, stop right there. Soldiers appeared at the entrance of the chamber, weapons ready. Red laser dots danced across Kale's chest. He turned slowly, holding Luria close. Please, he said, she's not your enemy. The lead soldier shouted, move away from the creature. Luria raised her head weakly. They fear what they do not understand. Kale stood firm. You'll have to shoot through me first. The soldiers hesitated, and in that pause, the ground began to tremble. The orb's light flared bright and strong. A deep, ancient roar filled the chamber. From the walls, shapes began to form, stone dragons, massive and silent, their eyes glowing. The soldiers froze in terror. The orb pulsed one last time, and a wave of golden light burst out, washing over everyone. Kale felt warmth spread through his chest, then darkness closed around him. When he opened his eyes, everything was quiet. The soldiers were gone, only ashes and empty armor remained. Luria lay in his arms, breathing softly. The orb's glow had dimmed, but it still pulsed gently. She looked up at him with tired eyes. It protected us. Kale nodded slowly. And maybe it's not finished yet. She smiled faintly. No, this is only the beginning. As Kale looked around, he noticed something small in her claws, a tiny golden egg, warm and alive. He felt tears rise in his eyes. Our child. Luria closed her eyes, resting. Yes, and its fate will change both worlds. The tunnel hummed softly again, as if agreeing. The world was silent. Dust floated in the golden light of the chamber. Kale sat on the cold stone floor, holding the small golden egg in his hands. Its shell glowed softly, warm like sunlight. Beside him, Luria rested, her breathing weak but steady. The great heart of the ancients pulsed slowly in the background, deep, steady, alive. The sound was like a heartbeat that filled the air, calm but powerful. Kale brushed the dust off his face and looked around. The soldiers, they're gone. Luria opened her eyes slightly. The heart protected us, it chooses who may live. Kale stared at the egg. And now what? We can't stay here forever. Her gaze softened. No, but for now we are safe. He set the egg gently on a folded cloth. It pulsed once, as if listening. Kale smiled faintly. It's alive. It can feel us. Luria nodded. It knows you. You carry my bond, and that makes you part of its bloodline. Kale frowned, confused. Part of its bloodline. She looked up toward the ceiling, where golden lines glowed faintly. Long ago, humans and dragons were one alliance, bound by the heart. The bond between us is the first since the war. The egg carries both bloods, dragon and human. Kale froze, half dragon, half human. Yes, she whispered. The child of two worlds. Above ground, the human alliance's command ship circled the planet. In the control room, a man stood before the screens, watching red warning signals flash across the map. Commander Holt frowned. Status on the retrieval team. Lost, sir, said a voice from behind. No life signs detected. The tunnels went dark. Holt turned sharply. Dark how? Like something swallowed the energy, the officer said quietly. Every scanner shows a heartbeat underground, huge. Steady, it's not mechanical. The commander narrowed his eyes. Then we're not leaving until we find it. He pressed a button. Prepare the purge cannons. If something lives beneath us, we burn it out. Down in the chamber, the light from the heart dimmed slightly, as if it sensed danger. Luria's eyes opened wider. They are coming again. I feel their fire. Kale stood quickly. We have to move. He grabbed his pack, wrapped the egg carefully, and helped Luria to her feet. But the tunnel walls trembled again, not in anger, but in warning. A deep voice echoed through the air, not human, not dragon, something ancient. Guardian awakened, bond recognized, destiny bound. Kale looked around, startled. Who said that? Luria's scales shimmered faintly. The heart speaks. The glowing orb in the center began to rise slowly, floating. Light spread across the walls, showing old carvings, dragons and humans standing together, fighting side by side. Kale's heart pounded. It's showing us the past. The carvings moved like memories, humans and dragons building cities together, creating weapons of light, then turning those weapons against each other. Flames, screams, war, and then darkness. Finally, the carvings showed one man and one dragon standing together, holding a glowing egg between them, just like Kale and Luria now. Luria whispered, "It repeats every 1,000 years. The bond must return to heal the world." Kale touched the glowing wall. "Then we'll end the cycle." The light flared brighter, almost blinding. Then it faded again, revealing a new tunnel, smooth, straight, leading upward. "The heart shows the way," Luria said softly. They began to move through the new path. The air grew warmer, cleaner. The sound of thunder outside grew louder. The Alliance was preparing their strike. Kale's communicator buzzed suddenly. A cracked voice came through. "Kale, this is Reddick. Listen to me." Kale stopped. "Reddick, you're alive." Barely, the foreman coughed. "The Alliance is charging the main cannon. They'll destroy everything within 20 miles, tunnels, colony, all of it." Kale clenched his jaw. "There are lives down here." "I know," Reddick said. "That's why I'm telling you. You have maybe 15 minutes before they fire." Kale looked at Luria. "We need to stop them." Her voice was calm. "You can't stop them with weapons, but perhaps with truth." Kale frowned. "Truth? The world above must see what they fear," she said. "They must see the child." He looked at the egg glowing faintly in his arms. "It's not ready." "It does not need to be born," she said softly. "It only needs to be seen." Kale took a deep breath and nodded. He turned on his communicator again. "Reddick, connect me to the command ship, now." "What? Are you insane? Do it." Kale shouted. After a few tense seconds, a cold voice filled the channel. "This is Commander Holt. Identify yourself." "This is Kale Rin," he said. "You're about to destroy something you don't understand. Stand down." Holt's voice was steady. "You are harboring a dragon, a threat to humanity. Your life is already forfeit." Kale held the communicator toward the egg. It began to glow brighter, golden light filling the tunnel. Luria raised her head, and her voice echoed softly. "This is not a threat, this is your future." Through the ship's cameras, the command crew saw it, a dragon and a human together, holding a glowing egg that pulsed like a living sun. The entire ship fell silent. Commander Holt took a step back, his eyes wide. For a moment his voice faltered. What is that?" Kale spoke quietly but firmly. "Hope. The first bond of two worlds reborn. If you destroy this place, you destroy your own chance for peace." The communication cut out, but up in the sky, the red lights on the purge cannons began to flicker and die. Someone had stopped the order. Kale looked up at the glowing tunnel roof. Luria smiled faintly. "You see, not all humans are lost." He smiled back. "And not all dragons are monsters." The egg glowed one more time, brighter than ever before, then settled into a calm, steady pulse. The heart of the ancients beat in rhythm with it. And somewhere, deep within the tunnels, a new sound began, the faint cry of a hatchling waiting to be born. The golden light from the egg slowly faded. Kale held it close, listening to the faint heartbeat inside. Luria leaned against the wall, her breathing shallow but calm. Around them the living tunnel hummed like a sleeping giant. Above ground, thunder rolled, not from nature but from engines. The human Alliance fleet hovered over the colony, their ships dark shapes against a blood-red sky. Kale looked up toward the ceiling. "They won't stop, will they?" Luria shook her head. "Fear is louder than truth." They saw the light, but fear blinds them again. Kale's jaw tightened. "Then I'll remind them what hope looks like." In the command ship, Commander Holt stood before the huge viewport. The purge cannons glowed faintly, waiting for his command. Officers whispered nervously, none dared meet his eyes. "Sir," one said, "the energy below is rising again. Something's alive down there." Holt's voice was cold. "Then we end it, prepare the strike." But before he could give the final order, the main screen flickered. A new signal appeared, an image of Kale standing deep within the glowing tunnels. The egg shimmered in his hands. Luria stood behind him like a shadow of gold and fire. "Commander Holt," Kale said, voice steady, "you don't need to fight us. Look at what we've found. Look what we can rebuild." Holt's eyes narrowed. "You speak like you're one of them." Kale shook his head. "No, I speak like someone who's seen both sides." For a long moment, silence filled the bridge. Then Holt turned away. "I've heard enough. Fire the cannons." The ground shook. A blinding red beam shot from the sky, striking the colony above. The shockwave tore through the earth, collapsing tunnels. Kale fell to his knees, shielding the egg. Rocks rained down. Luria cried out in pain. The heart of the ancients roared, an enormous pulse of energy exploding through the chamber. The red light of the cannon met the golden light of the heart, and for a moment the world turned white. When the light faded, Kale opened his eyes. He was standing in the middle of a vast field, not the tunnels, not the colony. The air shimmered like glass. Everything looked both real and unreal, like a dream. Luria stood nearby, her wounds healed, her eyes glowing brighter than ever. The egg floated between them, bathed in golden fire. "Where are we?" Kale whispered. "The in-between," Luria said softly. "The heart has pulled us into its memory. It is showing us what could be." All around them, images appeared, humans and dragons working together, building cities that touched the clouds, ships flying through twin suns. Then came darkness, flames, betrayal, war. Kale clenched his fists. They destroyed everything. Luria touched his arm gently. "And now the heart asks if we will do the same." The vision changed. Commander Holt appeared before them, ghost-like but solid enough to feel real. He looked younger, uncertain. Kale stepped forward. "This isn't real." Luria shook her head. "It is a test. The heart gives you one chance to choose peace or repeat the past." Holt looked between them, confused. "Where are we? What is this?" Kale met his eyes. "You're inside the truth. You can end the war now or begin it again." The heart's light surrounded them. Images of soldiers, cities, and stars filled the sky above, waiting for Holt's decision. Holt's hands trembled. "I followed orders all my life. I thought dragons were the enemy." Luria's voice was gentle. "Enemies are made by fear, but you can unmake them." For the first time, Holt lowered his weapon. "Then show me how." The vision shattered. They were back in the real world, the tunnels shaking, dust raining from above. But something had changed. The purge cannons had gone silent. The sky above was calm again. Kale looked at Luria. He stopped the attack. She smiled weakly. The heart reached him. Kale turned toward the chamber's center. The heart now glowed brighter than ever, its light wrapped around the egg, lifting it slowly into the air. Luria's eyes widened. "It's time." Cracks formed along the egg's golden shell. Kale held his breath. A tiny claw pushed through, then another. A small, glowing creature emerged, half-scaled, half-fleshed, eyes shining like molten gold. It looked at Kale first, then at Luria, and let out a soft cry, almost human. Kale's heart broke open with emotion. "He's beautiful." Luria nodded. "He is hope itself." The hatchling stretched its small wings, light spreading from its body. The heart pulsed once, then slowly faded, leaving only the newborn's glow. Far above, Commander Holt stood at the viewport, watching golden light rise from beneath the ground. His officers waited for orders. "Stand down," Holt said quietly. "No more war." The officers looked at him in disbelief. He turned to them, eyes wet. "We destroy what we fear because we forget what we once were. No more." Below, Kale looked at Luria and their child. The tunnel walls had turned to crystal, shimmering in the soft light. "What happens now?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "Now we teach them to remember." Kale reached out, letting the hatchling climb onto his arm. It cooed softly, curling its tail around his wrist. For the first time in centuries, a dragon and a human stood together again, not as enemies but as family. The first light of dawn touched the broken land. Smoke still drifted over the ruined colony, but through the haze came a golden glow, soft, alive, peaceful. Kale stood at the edge of the valley, the small half-dragon child in his arms. Its scales shimmered in the sunlight like tiny mirrors, reflecting the rising sun. Beside him, Luria walked slowly, weak but smiling. Her wings folded close to her body, her eyes bright and calm. For the first time in years, there was no sound of war, only wind, only life. Far above, the human Alliance fleet floated silently in orbit. Inside the command ship, Commander Holt watched the feed from the surface. The man, the dragon, and the newborn creature walking together. An officer spoke softly. "Sir, what are your orders?" Holt's gaze stayed on the screen. "We rebuild," he said quietly. "No more destruction, the war is over." The officer hesitated. "And what about them?" Holt's voice softened. "They are the start of something greater than all of us. Protect them." Down below, Kale and Luria reached the old mining field, now quiet and empty. The wind carried the scent of ash and metal. Kale looked at the horizon. "It feels strange," he said, "to see peace where there was fire." Luria smiled faintly. "Peace always feels strange at first because we forget what it means." Kale looked at the child in his arms. "He's part of both worlds. Maybe he can remind us." The hatchling opened its tiny wings and gave a soft chirp, almost like laughter. The ground beneath them glowed faintly, responding to its energy. Small sprouts of green pushed through the black soil, the first signs of new life. Luria gasped. "He heals the world." Kale looked down, amazed. "Every step he takes, the land changes." The child turned its glowing eyes toward the sky, and for a moment golden light spread far and wide, touching the ruins, the rivers, and the silent towers. The world began to breathe again. Days passed. Kale and Luria built a small camp near the canyon using parts from old machines. They lived quietly, raising the child, teaching it to walk, to speak, to fly. The hatchling, whom Kale named Solon, grew fast. Within weeks, it could glide across the valley. When it laughed, sparks of light danced around it. When it cried, the rain fell softly over the plains. But not everyone was ready for peace. One morning, Kale noticed shadows moving along the cliffs. Soldiers, but not from Holt's ship. Their armor bore another mark, the Corps Directorate, the secret division that never accepted the end of the war. Luria saw them too. "More humans come," she said quietly. "Different ones, they bring fear." Kale clenched his fists. "Then we face them together." The soldiers marched down into the valley, weapons raised. Their leader, a tall woman with silver armor, stepped forward. "By order of the Directorate, the creature is to be captured or destroyed." Kale stood his ground. "You don't understand. This child is the future." The woman's eyes were cold. "Future or not, it's not human." Luria's wings flared wide, glowing gold. "And yet it carries your blood." The woman hesitated, the glow reflecting in her helmet. "What are you?" Luria stepped forward, voice calm but powerful. "I am what humans forgot, mercy." At that moment, Solon fluttered down between them. The small creature looked up at the woman and touched her boot with one tiny claw. Golden light spread where it touched, and the woman gasped as memories filled her mind, flashes of the old alliance, of dragons and humans standing together in friendship. She dropped her weapon, tears in her eyes. "I remember." The other soldiers stared, confused, lowering their guns slowly. Kale stepped forward. "You see, he doesn't destroy, he reminds." The woman looked at the child again. "Perhaps we were wrong." She turned to her men. "Stand down." That night, Kale sat beside the fire with Luria and Solon. The sky was full of stars, brighter than ever before. Luria rested her head on Kale's shoulder. "The heart sleeps now," she said softly. "Its task is done." Kale looked at the stars. "Then it's our turn." He smiled as Solon curled between them, breathing softly. "No more running, no more hiding, we build again." Luria's eyes glowed faintly in the firelight. Together. The wind moved gently across the land, carrying the scent of new life and the song of distant dragons. For the first time in centuries, the world was quiet, not because it was dead, but because it was healing. And under that new sky, a man, a dragon, and their child watched the dawn rise, the dawn of a world reborn through love, courage, and truth. Years passed. The world changed. The war that once tore the skies apart became a story told around fires, a warning, a memory. The human alliance and the dragon clans slowly began to rebuild what was lost. At the heart of this new world stood Kael, Luria, and their child, Solin, the first of both worlds. The valley that had once been ash was now a garden of gold and green. Trees with crystal leaves shimmered in the sunlight, rivers sang with faint light, and the air carried warmth that had not touched this planet for centuries. Kael walked among the people, humans and dragons, helping them learn to live together again. He smiled when he saw a young boy handing fruit to a small silver-scaled hatchling. Once, such a sight would have caused fear. Now it caused laughter. Luria watched from a nearby hill, her golden eyes proud. "They finally remember," she said softly. Kael turned to her. Because of him, she looked to the sky. Solin was flying, wings wide, glowing like fire and sunlight mixed together. He soared above the valley, leaving trails of golden sparks. Children cheered. Even the older dragons lifted their heads in silent respect. "He's grown," Kael whispered. "Too fast." Luria smiled. Children of two worlds grow in more than years, they grow in spirit. But peace, as always, has its shadows. That evening, when the sky turned deep blue and stars awoke, Solin landed quietly beside his parents. His expression was serious. "Mother, father," the heart speaks again. Kael and Luria looked at each other. "The heart," Solin nodded. "It calls from below, from where I was born. It says the balance is not yet complete." Kael's chest tightened. "You mean the heart is still alive?" "Yes," Solin said softly. "But it is weakening. Too much hatred remains in the stars far beyond this world. The old war spreads between colonies. Humans still fear what they don't see." Luria sighed. "Then peace here is only the beginning." Solin looked at them both, eyes glowing bright. "The heart asks me to go, to carry its light across the stars." Kael froze. "No, you're still." Luria touched his hand gently. "He was never meant to stay." Kael's voice cracked. "He's our son." Luria smiled sadly. "And he is hope. Hope does not belong to one home, it belongs to all who have lost it." Solin stepped forward and placed his clawed hand over Kael's heart. "I am you, father and mother. I carry both your worlds. I will not forget." The next morning, the entire valley gathered to see him off. A great ship built by both dragon fire and human hands stood ready, silver and gold, shaped like a winged flame. Commander Holt, now older and wiser, approached Kael. "He will need allies out there," he said. "We've built new fleets not for war but for peace. We'll follow his path wherever it leads." Kael nodded. "Thank you, old friend." Holt smiled faintly. "You taught me what friendship really means." Luria stepped forward and touched the ship's hull. It glowed softly under her hand. "The heart watches through you," she told her son. "Remember its song." Solin turned to them one last time. His wings flared wide, golden fire surrounding him. "I will return when the stars no longer fear the dark." He rose into the sky, light spreading behind him. The people below watched as his ship vanished into the heavens, leaving a trail of gold across the dawn. Years later, legends spread across the galaxies. They spoke of a traveler, a being of light and flame who healed broken worlds, who spoke of peace between enemies, who carried the voice of dragons and the heart of man. And on one quiet night, under a sky filled with new constellations, Kael and Luria stood on the same hill where it all began. They watched the stars, one of them shining brighter than all the others. Kael smiled softly. He kept his promise. Luria leaned against him, and we kept ours. The wind moved gently through the glowing trees, carrying a voice that sounded like both thunder and song, the echo of their son far away, reminding every world that the bond of fire and light could never truly die. If you enjoyed this journey, leave a like, share your thoughts below, and subscribe to become part of this story. This is born of two worlds, where reality ends and imagination begins.